welcome to Past, Present, and Future, or Three Questions, the podcast where we learn about people's career journeys, how they got to where they are today, and where they'd like to go to next. I'm Parrots Cohen, a technologist and a wordsmith, and in my time in industry, I've been fortunate to work with both large companies and small startups, alongside a number of very talented and hardworking individuals. This podcast is some of my conversations with them, where we learn about their journeys and what motivates them. If you'd like to be in the podcast, please feel free to reach out. You don't have to have a certain level of seniority or number of years of experience. We all have something to share and learn from each other. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast or get involved in the collaboration, we'd also like to hear from you. All right, looking forward to our journey together as we learn more about each other and enrich ourselves in the process. Hello, everyone. Really happy today to have Ryan with us on the show. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, great to see you, Chris.
All right, great to have you on the show. Let's kick things off. Let's start with, how did it all begin? Where did your career journey start?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting path. I would break down my career journey both in the physical location as well as the job itself. Originally from Southern California, then moved to San Francisco for a couple of years, and then I've been here in New York City for the past 6 years. I've been in tech sales and go-to-market for the past 11 years or so, since 2014. It's a super interesting path. I basically went to UCLA, and after graduating, worked at some early stage startups. And having worked at something that's super early stage, basically being the first hire, wore a lot of hats and basically did everything that was the non-technical side of things. And the one thing that stood out for me was the sales piece, being able to help convince people to make a decision, to buy things, to move forward, sales and business development. And at UCLA, I was a major in political science. And I always thought it really interesting. People sometimes ask, how do you make that jump? They said, well, sales and international relations have a lot in common with tech and tech sales, where you, instead of selling, and it's basically like doing a treaty, right? Instead of a treaty between two countries, it's a treaty between two companies, right? It's a different type of conversation there. And the path I took was I found the opportunity to move to San Francisco. I ended up moving there in 2014, moving to a hacker house. I was in one house with 60 people in San Francisco, working in the tech space. Started my career path in tech at Optimizely in San Francisco. Grew super fast, had an awesome experience there. After Optimizely, I joined Google Cloud. I was basically very early on the sales team there when they had probably less than 100 people in the entire org, which was big for Google. I was at Google for 6 years, and that's what brought me to New York. And as I was going there, I moved from smaller and smaller deals more on the SMB side of things to focusing on much more larger strategic enterprise deals. After Google, I went to a startup called Groove. After Groove, I was at Scale AI, and most recently, I'm over here at Crossmint and focusing on AI agent transactions. So the path I've taken has been generally working with more and more strategic deals, and then also working with more and more focus on the AI side of things as well, from working with model builders to folks building out AI agents. So the high level, that's the path I've taken, but happy to chat more.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think what's really great as well is you touched on that piece of like linking your educational experience to the roles you did, linking each role and kind of how it shifted and the path you took to get to where you are today. But yeah, shifting gears, talking about today. What are you working on over at Crossmint?
Yeah, so at Crossmint, we're an infrastructure company focusing specifically on fintech for AI agents. That's my focus area. The high level idea is that right now everyone is building an AI agent, right? It's the main buzzword of the year that people are building out. They actually said last year was the year of the model builders. This year is the year of the AI agent builders, right? And what's interesting is a lot of people built out AI agents, but they can't transact yet. They can't actually go and make a purchase. Like the ideal situation that I want is to say, hey, I want to book a flight from New York to LA tomorrow. My budget is $500. If it goes below 500, buy me this flight now. Maybe not tomorrow, but for the near future. We basically built out the tech to enable that. So I'm working right now with a lot of AI agent builders to help them build out that last mile of transactions for being able to purchase things.
That's incredible. And I saw the kind of the demo you shared on LinkedIn, and it's like, as a concept, I mean, definitely for myself, someone who like enjoys finding those deals in hotels and flights, being able to have that automated would be a total game changer. Can definitely think about applications for selling stocks as well, but it's amazing. That's incredible. Um, in thinking kind of in this kind of as you progressed along your career journey and were within different companies and different company sizes and different domains, what have you found helpful in identifying opportunities and finding the right situations to most kind of bring the most of your skill set to and to excel and to find opportunity for growth? And conversely, when do you know it's time to move on?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say at a high level, I was giving it some thought. There's a few pieces that come into play here. I think the first piece is just being able to have a lot of curiosity. So didn't actually mention earlier, before I was, political science major, I actually was a journalism major for a bit. I had a huge interest in that space as well, asking good questions to get to a result, digging deeper to find the root cause of something and figuring out what makes things work. Again, that's also very much transferable over to go to market and moving things forward and being an operator. So I find really interesting is I first recommend like having a good sense of curiosity is always super helpful. Being able to ask good questions and being able to figure out what the next is in the questioning that you're doing. This ties in with my second point too. A good piece of career advice I heard was figuring out what your next is and basically planning your path to get to that next, right? And I think that's also very important. One other piece as well is this is more advice that's related to go to market. But one thing I was told once was, do you want to learn or earn? Because there's some opportunities where it's more on the learning side and some that are more on the earning side. I feel like it definitely like most in reality, it's going to be mixed. You're going to have a bit of both of the learning and earning side of things, but figure out what that balance is for what you want to do and go from there. But those are a few of the main things I've been thinking about that have helped like guide me forward. But I think of all those, I think curiosity is the most important because curiosity, asking the right questions. It doesn't matter what role it is. Actually, it doesn't even need to be go to market. But surprising, like even in interviews, like I've given a lot of interviews myself, and also sat across the table on both sides. It's very interesting how many people just don't have that sense of curiosity you're bringing in. So you want to make sure you can shine that as much as possible.
And that's a great framework. I definitely enjoy the learn versus earn and kind of and how they converge and the idea of like having curiosity and thinking beyond the kind of just the current opportunity is definitely very powerful. Um, let's take a look at the future. No, we're definitely at a very interesting time in general, so the future may be a little bit harder to project. Um, but looking to the future, where would you like to take your career in the next 5 to 10 years, or any ventures you have? What does the future look like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It literally ties in earlier with like what the next is, right? And for me, it's I've given it a lot of thought, right? And it's the way I'm viewing it right now is I feel like the space in terms of the space, like AI space is growing super quickly. I've been fortunate enough to work directly with folks building AI models, like the model builders themselves, along with people building out AI agents, and also startups and larger companies using AI. I feel like it's, again, to give it a little buzzword wording, it's going to be very transformational, build out a lot of solutions. I think by the next big opportunity is to help AI fade into the background to just make people's days and lives better, whether it's a big company or individual. So to me personally, I want to basically build out what that next phase is, being able to enable people to have better lives through AI and technology related to that. So for me personally, it's either going to be through growing with the company, building out a business motion and being able to be in the leadership on that side, or potentially starting my own thing. There's still a lot of questions on my side about that. So I may basically at a high level, I want to follow the trajectory right now to build out that AI agent world and then see where that takes me at a high level and be a bit more strategic there as I go.
One point which I picked up on, kind of, which you mentioned, something that I thought about a lot as well, is like we're definitely where kind of AI and agents and the whole ecosystem is very much in the zeitgeist, but kind of that the point of it being more useful and more kind of improving people's lives is when it kind of that curve kind of starts to descend and it becomes more of kind of in the background. And when it's in the background, it becomes more integrated into processes, into technologies, and to everyday life, and kind of similar to a lot of other technology curves, like cloud, for example, and how it kind of now it's a mainstay of the technology environment. Um, but thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on the show and sharing your experience and sharing. There's a lot of kind of pieces you shared along the way, which I think listeners will find very valuable. And yeah, great catching up with you.
I guess, Brett, yeah, wish you all the best. This is awesome. Really appreciate the time.